Welcome back into the Ohio State Football Report. Tom Downey here. Stephen Means over at Cleveland.com, the Plain Dealer, listed his offensive depth chart as fall practice begins. I think it's got some pretty good insights and breaks down mostly how we would expect. So I want to discuss it on today's show. Before we get into that, we are on the verge of losing the July subscriber battle against that team up north. They had one big video that did super well. We can catch them in a day. I promise you there's 150 people watching today's show who are not subscribed. If that is you, sub, get free Ohio State videos and watch parties all season long. We'll go position by position, starting, of course, at the quarterback spot. Julian Sayin, the projected starter. Lincoln Kienholz, the backup. Tavien St. Clair as quarterback 3. I do think some good insight here from Stephen Means as we get fall camp underway today for the Buckeyes, saying Kienholz made this interesting in the spring. He did his part to make this an actual competition and honestly looked better in 2 of the 3 times the public got to see them in a competitive environment. But the spring game is like that one exam in college the professor tells you is worth more than 40% of your grade. Sayin was by far the better quarterback that day. Mix that with the momentum he already came into the spring with, and we're back where we were before those 15 spring practices, thinking in the end it is his job to lose. And I am inclined to agree with this type of mindset. Sayin played very well in the spring, and it looked like he was the one taking bigger steps forward as the spring overall went along. Kienholz kind of rallied in the spring game. I think that the touchdowns might be a bit deceptive for how the offense actually operated overall. I don't think this battle is necessarily over. I wouldn't be surprised if we got into like August 15th range, and at that point, in theory, Sayin has secured the job, but it's not a lock that Sayin wins the battle. I think this still ends up being like the Will Howard, Devin Brown thing where like, yeah, Devin Brown pushed Howard, but like they're going to go with the guy that they kind of thought was going to be the guy because he is better in the end. So get your predictions in. Who do you think ends up winning the quarterback battle for the Ohio State Buckeyes? JS for Julian Sayin, LK for Lincoln Kienholz. This will be the pinned comments on today's video, so if the ad comes here on the YouTube side, that's just fine. Take advantage of it, head down there, and go vote. JS for Julian Sayin, LK for Lincoln Kienholz. To the running back side of things, James Peoples listed as starter 1, CJ Donaldson starter 2. I think it's a little bit, it's not wrong. It is kind of like, okay, they're 1A, 1B. I am curious who starts game 1 against Texas, who gets the first snap. But then also who gets the most work, who gets the most snaps, the most touches, the biggest workload against Texas. And are those 2 things the same? I am a little bit more excited about James Peoples as a more dynamic option. We haven't seen a bunch of him in his time in college, 49 carries for the Buckeyes last season coming out of Texas. But I think there is some juice to his game. I don't really consider CJ Donaldson as someone who has a bunch of juice to his game. He's carries a good role. I think he's a good battering ram, lead back, power runner, whatever. I think you can even put those guys on the field together. You know, if you're playing CFB 2026, like Donaldson's the power back, Peoples is probably the main back. I could even see Donaldson getting third down back reps, though, because he can do some pass protection stuff. So this and how that rotation sorts out, I'm very curious to see what it looks like. To the wide receiver room, Jeremiah Smith, obviously wide receiver 1, Carnell Tate's wide receiver 2. I do think Brandon Inniss is wide receiver 3. I'm excited to see him take a step forward. Mylan Graham at wide receiver 4, related off topic here. My CFP 26, my Miami Ohio Dynasty, Mylan Graham cannot be stopped by Matt Corners. He has like 2,000 yards receiving for me. It's unbelievable. Bryson Rodgers, receiver 5, Quincy Porter, receiver 6. Hopefully Graham does not transfer like he did in the game. We know how good Jeremiah Smith is. I'm excited to see what type of step forward Carnell Tate can have. How much better can he be this year? A lot of those targets that went to Emeka Egbuka, some of them are going to go to Carnell Tate. Probably a decent amount of them are going to end up going to Carnell Tate. The Buckeyes haven't had 2 straight years of multiple 1,000-yard wide receivers. They haven't had that. They've had guys go for 1,000 and get close to it for the second guy, but Jeremiah's going to go for 1,000. Can Carnell Tate actually go there? Or will there be enough rotation between other guys and TBD on the amount of games that he doesn't get there? Let's hear your predictions. Will Carnell Tate have over 1,000 receiving yards Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. The tight end depth chart. There's pretty common buzz from the insiders for Ohio State of like, Kacmarek is awesome, and Jelani Thurman and Bennett Christian can do stuff, and Max Clair, there's 2 starters. I don't know. We've kind of named like 6 different skill guys as starters. That's really not fair to do. Here's what Stephen Means wrote. The 2025 tight end was all about depth and versatility. Keenan Bailey legitimately has 4 options to choose from. Each brings something different to the table. Clair is the best receiving threat. Thurman can be a red zone mismatch if he reaches his potential. Because American Christian can be maulers in the run game. And there will be 2 tight end packages. I don't know. I think this is going to be the Max Clair show for Ohio State. Like, Purdue's offense was terrible last year. His numbers were in spite of the quarterback play, where he just gets open, he makes plays, and it's like, the quarterback wasn't very accurate on that one. I don't want to be, like, dismissive of the other tight ends. I am trying to be praiseworthy for how good I think Max Clair is going to be for Ohio State. I don't know if he's a true household name, but, like, I think when we get through the season, if he has the year I think he has, we're going to be discussing potential tight end 1 for him this upcoming year. Ohio State football jerseys are available on sale, 20% off over at chatsports.com/OSU jersey. That deal is available for a limited time, so you better go take advantage of it. We'll put the link in the comments section of today's show. It's that official Nike OSU #1 jersey, chatsports.com/OSU jersey. Let's get to the offensive line starters, and I think there is the potential for one change here at right guard. We'll discuss Ethan Oninawa, how important he is. Luke Montgomery feels pretty good at left guard. Carson Hinsman got some playing time. That's a benefit for him at center. Tegra, I think, is the right guard starter. Austin Siereveld is going to start, I think, somewhere on the offensive line. There's been a pretty steady stream of buzz, especially from sites like On3 on him. I think this offensive line is going to be a massive factor in how good this entire team is. Can Ethan Oninawa, who as a run blocker I thought did some good stuff at Rice, their offense in general kind of like hides the pass protection stuff in the end, but Oninawa has allegedly dropped some weight. I think that's a very good thing as well for Ohio State. I am curious how good he can be this year. I think they got better play in the long run from Josh Simmons than I ever thought they were going to. Can they do the exact same thing here with Oninawa? Meanwhile, Austin Siereveld sounds like he's taken steps forward throughout this kind of summer, spring session for Ohio State. Did get some playing time last year. A little high on the pressures allowed. But he's going to start somewhere. It's a question of can Philip Daniels, who we'll discuss in a little bit, push him enough to kick him inside the guard. I think he's going to start somewhere for Ohio State. I think health along the offensive line, also a huge factor for the Buckeyes. If you want them to stay healthy, show it by liking today's video, because health matters quite a bit for Ohio State. I think chemistry, consistency along the offensive line, even though the Buckeyes just disproved that last year in the playoff run, in general, I think that stuff matters a lot. They also listed the O-line backups, the Plain Dealer article did. Ian Moore, Jake Cook, Josh Padilla, Gabe Van Sickle, which is kind of an elite name for an offensive lineman. I think if something happens to somebody, Philip Daniels maybe gets the first crack. That's the Minnesota transfer. I think maybe some disappointment with like the limited steps forward he's taken. If he can push right tackle in the fall, maybe we revisit these starters along the offensive line. But these guys feel like the top backups for the Buckeyes on that offensive line as we get fall camp underway.